Now, the last thing in this set of slides, we have the list comprehension. Now, oftentimes we use the for loop to populate a list. Now, we've seen how we create a list, like when we create the list and then we add the values by hand, separated by commas, right? Now, we can populate the list programmatically. Now we can call the append method to add one element to the list at a time. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Actually in the interactive interpreter here. So I'm gonna create a list. My list is empty. Okay, and then I can say my list dot append, let's say 5, for example. So now if I try my list, I will see that 5 is appended. So append means like added to the end. Remember when we had the tried the concatenate part, in order to concatenate, we would have to concatenate another list, right? But if we just want to append one element, or we can just use the append method. Now if I say my list dot append, and let's say 10. So the value 10 will be appended at the end of the list. Okay, and so on. So oftentimes we need to build up the list programmatically. All right. So typically we would need a loop to do that, and then loop that loops over a sequence, and then we build a list based off that. Based off a sequence. So let's say here, like a basic example, let's have a sequence of odd numbers, and we want to build up a list of the doubles of these odd numbers. Okay, so we would create an empty list, and then we loop over the sequence that we want to build our new list of. So here the sequence is odd numbers. And then inside the loop, every time we take one element of that sequence and we like do the expression that we want. So for in that case here, we want to double the value. So double the value and then append it to the list. So let's try it here. So I disabled the auto suggestion so that we can would be easier to explain. So first I'm gonna create my range of odd numbers. Okay. It can be any list, any sequence I want. So this is just a basic example. So let's say the list that we want to start off, we want to build, the sequence that we want to build off our list, build our list on, it's just a set of odd numbers from 1 to 10. All right. So how can we build up our list automatically? Now we can have the long form using the long loop. So we can have a loop that loops over the values in that range. So we need a control variable. Let's say we call it O, or you can call it anything you want. N, and then the name of the range or any sequence I want to iterate over. Okay, so every time I want to do something to the element in the current element in the iteration, and then append it to the list. So before I start that, I would need an empty list so that I can use it to start populating. So let's say I will call this my or double odds equal an empty list. Okay. Now, every time we iterate here, O will take one of the values in the range, right? So we want to append to the double odds. So my list, I will append to it an expression based off that current element. So for here, for this simple example, we just want O multiplied by 2. All right, and then if we try to print the list, we should be able to see the values printed doubled. You can see here, right? So the range would have been 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, and so on. So these are doubles of it. Okay. Now there is a short way to do this. So this is a very common case that in which you in data science projects and machine learning projects in which you have an already existing set of values. You want to build a list based on these values. Okay, so there is a shorter way to do this. This is a long way to do it. There is a shorter way that we call the list comprehension. Okay, so I will call this double odds underscore comp from comprehension. Okay, now what is it that we want to create? We want to create a list, right? So a list would be surrounded by square brackets, right? So that's saying that we want to create a list. Now we want a short way to do this. So here in the beginning, we want the expression by which we want to populate the list. We'll see what does that mean in a bit. Here we put the header of the loop. So I want to build my list of this range. So I want to iterate over the elements in this range one by one. So I want to say for oh, this is a variable name. I can use any name I want. Okay. I will use the same name here so that you can compare, but you can use any name you want. So I want to iterate over the elements in that odd numbers. Okay. So this, we know this loop will assign a value to this variable that is equal to one of the elements in this sequence one at a time. Okay. Now here, what's the expression? So what is it that I want to append? I can just append the value as it is. So that just creates a typical list out of the range, right? Like an identical list out of the range. But what I want actually is to double it. So whatever expression I want here, so take this O multiplied by 2 and then append it to my list. Okay, so that should give me the same list that we created here without the comprehension. So if I try to print it, okay, let's see. All right, now let's have a look at the loop again. Let's put a breakpoint here and run it in debug mode so that we can make sure that we understand it. So what happened here? I have a list that is empty. I want to populate it based off this sequence, the sequence of this range. So we know when we create a loop like this variable will take one value of the sequence at a time. All right. So when we execute the first iteration here, we have the value O will take the first value in the sequence in this range. So the first value is 1. So O is equal to 1. Now I multiply this value by 2 and then append it. So if I run this, now you will see the value 2 is appended to the to my list that was empty. And then I try again. The next value in the range is 3, right? So O is equal to 3. Now here we multiply it by 2 and then append it. So now we should be able to see that the value 6 is added here. And then the next value in the range, which is 5, multiplied by 2 and then append. All right. Okay, so that's what's happening here. All right. Now, what's happening here is pretty much the same. It's just a shorter way to do the same thing. We know this header will allow for a loop that will assign one of the values from the sequence to the variable here, one at a time. All right. So I put the header of the loop here at the end of the comprehension. And at the beginning of the comprehension, I would put the expression that I want to be based on each of these values. So the O will take one value at a time. What do I want to do with the value before I append it to my list? I can put it here. All right. Okay, so we are gonna have some examples about that during the class. So try at least try the examples that you see in the slide, uh, so that so that you can come to the class ready for the hands-on that we're gonna have there. All right.